This podcast is hosted on podhome.fm, the most modern podcast hosting platform. Podhome offers unlimited episodes and podcasts, and unlimited use of Podhome AI, which generates transcripts, clips, chapters, title suggestions, show notes, and much more. And all of that for just $15.99 a month or $185 per year. That's a steal. So go to podhome.fm and start your 30-day trial now. And enjoy the show with Joe.
Transmitting live from the Asylum Studios, deep in the bowels of Southwest Texas. It's the Joe Rooz Show. The show where we talk about anything and everything. Where nothing is sacred, nothing is watered down, and nothing is PC.
Alrighty, hey folks, this is Joe Rooz, and it is great to be with you once again, transmitting live at the Asylum. And of course, as always, doing the very best we can to bring you the best quality talk radio we could muster without all the bluster. Welcome to the Joe Rooz Show. All right. Well, folks, hope you guys are ready for this one tonight. Serial killers, cults, manipulation, criminal psychology, and one man who spent years researching some of the darkest people imaginable. Best-selling true crime author and syndicated radio host Alan R. Warren joins us tonight to talk about evil, media obsession with murder, cult behavior, and what happens when you spend decades staring into humanity's darkest corners. But of course, before we get into it, we're going to take care of some of the usual housekeeping that we do. So if you would, please head on over to our website. That's joerooz.com, joerooz.com. And when you get over there, open up that contact form. It's up there in the upper right corner of your screen. You can just click that thing, open a little pancake, and the web form pops open, and there you go. Fire us off a message. Let us know whatever's on your heart, whatever's on your mind, any questions, comments, cares, or concerns that you might have. Maybe you have a complaint. You shouldn't have a complaint, but you might have a complaint. You can send that on over to us also. Maybe you have a suggestion for a guest or a topic for discussion. Let us know what you're thinking. We would love to hear from you guys. Now, if you're anything like me, you don't like to use the web forms because of the stupid CAPTCHA nonsense. So if you like that, use the email address. That is why we have one. info@joerooz.com. That's info@joerooz.com. Also, please don't forget, folks, this is a live show, weeknights, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And don't forget our Sunday show, our Sunday Bible study show, every Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Central Time. All right. Also, very, very, very important is messing with the algorithm. Okay. You got to mess with the algorithm. And you do that by liking the show, subscribing to it, following it, sharing it with your friends, your family, your followers across your social media networks. All of that great stuff helps get this show found. So we appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and share the show. It really helps us out. And, you know, it's a good way also to piss people off, too. You know, I'm not exactly the nicest person in the world sometimes, so you can share the show with somebody you really want to piss off, and then every time they open up their device, our show information is going to pop up there as part of their, people you might know type stuff. So do that. Please. Look, I share it with my sister, and she blocks me because of it. So you can do it. It'll piss people off. It's a lot of fun, and it helps us get found. So please do that. Like, subscribe, and share the show. Friends, family, and followers. All right. Now, tonight's connection is brought to you by Creative Edge. Creative Edge. Publicity at its finest for all creatives. Your brand, your future. Check them out at creative-edge.services for more information about Creative Edge. All right. Well, with all of that said, I think it's about time we bring up our guest. Now, tonight, we've got best-selling true crime author and radio host Alan R. Warren joining the show. He's written nearly 40 nonfiction books covering serial killers, cults, human trafficking, some of the darkest criminal cases in North America. His work's been featured on CNN, Oxygen, Reels, Vice, Sundance, nothing you've probably ever heard of. And he hosts a syndicated radio show, House of Mystery, heard across the U.S. and Canada. Now we're going to get into some really interesting conversation tonight. We'll talk about criminal psychology, the cult behaviors, media obsession, and what years of researching actually can do to a person. So, Alan, welcome to the show, my friend.
Well, thank you for having me. I can't believe I've done that much. I'm tired now.
Wow, it wears you out, doesn't it?
Yeah, I need a break.
Isn't it a strange feeling when you hear somebody reading off a pedigree like that?
Yeah, especially if it's you.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of interviews myself. Like, I mean, I interview people, but I don't really do a lot of shows where I'm the one, being interviewed.
Yeah.
And so I did one not too long ago. I don't think it's been released yet, but I did one not too long ago. And when the guy was reading my pedigree, I was like, really? Where does it say that?
Yeah, who's this?
I have to go back and look at that. Was that me?
Yeah,
Really?
when did I do that? Well,
It's crazy. It really is. It's and it's a little unsettling too. So being on the other side of the microphone, as they say. So, Alan. So for people hearing your name for the first time, which after a pedigree like yours, I highly doubt that there isn't anybody. I put your name into Chat GPT, and it gave me that like surprised and shocked look. And I was like, "Oh, do you know who Alan Warren is?" And it said no. So,
see, there you go.
I said, "Then what was the face?"
Yeah. You forgot the R. There has to be an R in my name.
Alan R. Warren.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do that because there's an Alan Warren that was writing books before I even came into the world, and he was a foot doctor.
Oh, okay.
Several books, so I couldn't take his name.
I see. I got you. So Alan R. Warren. I have been admonished.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'd be getting books on feet. Slight difference, not a lot, but just a little.
Slight, yeah, just a little bit. I mean, some serial killers do have foot fetishes, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, and plus the feet are still working, when you see the foot doctor. But
true, very true, very true. So, Alan R. Warren, for people hearing your name for the first time, what exactly is it that you do on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I'm a dancer and singer, backup singer for Taylor Swift. No,
I did notice before you put up the background, I did see the pole. Yeah. So I'm assuming that you're doing the stripper pole.
Yeah, but that's that's not too much anymore now that I'm in my 60s.
Okay.
But it was a big thing, in one time.
All right.
Yeah, but no, actually, what do? I'm just a guy, and I started writing and got on radio, and that's about it. I don't really, it's funny because I don't really think about it, to be honest, until I'm on shows like this. Mm. Because then they ask me about all those things, like and I really don't know where it came from or why I'm doing it and how I got into it. I mean, there was no planned motive. There was no in my mind, this is what I'm going to do. This is where I want to go. Anything. None of that was just, it was all one thing led to another. It was all accidental. Hmm. So, I mean,
but you don't feel like you were ever headed just toward writing
No, I'm terrible writer. Awful.
Says the guy who has 40 books.
Yeah, but no. But you see, when I was in school, I'm probably like a lot of other kids, where you get through and you pass it and you do all that stuff. But I wasn't like this honor student in English or English lit. I did it and I graduated. That's all fine. But that wasn't my major. In fact, when I was going to university, I was going to university in Seattle, UW, and my major was music. And my minor was criminology, and then my master's went to music. So there was no, I didn't think I was a great writer by any means. Like I said, that's what I mean. It's accidental. So you could have asked me back then when I was 20, are you going to be a writer? And I said, no, hardly. So, but it's about content. It's about doing what you do and then having people really relate to the content. Editors help you with the writing. And then I started taking some night courses to get better at what I was weak at, so there you go. Radio now, I would have liked to have been a radio star.
But you have a radio show.
I know, but you know what I mean? I remember when I was young, I all I did was listen to radio.
And by the way, didn't video kill the radio star?
I heard that.
Yes. See what I did there?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That's great. I know. Well, a lot of young people are going to go, what?
I know.
They won't have a clue, right? That's got to be 40 years old.
If not more.
I know. I'm trying to be polite. But I was, because but I was the weird kid that I'd be listening to radio all night long. I'd go to bed so I could hear my radio. I didn't care about TV.
Yeah.
So
I was like that too. I used to listen to Art Bell.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Art Bell was good. Art Bell was good. I'm not going to talk about it now.
George Norrie and
I know. Just say no.
Why?
Art Bell had a way because it was about who he was, and I really liked that. He wasn't putting on or fitting into the show. He was the show. So without him, it's not the same. I know. You know what I mean? And it's not
I understand.
George. It's just what I'm saying is it's not this. It's just it lost something for me without Art Bell. And that's even with there's been really good one. Dave Schrader was on there, and who else was on there? The guy that just passed away not too long ago. And there was a lot of really good hosts on there. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not even talking that George is bad, but there's something missing with them as compared to Art Bell.
I would agree. I would agree with you on that. I would.
It's like a different show.
Art Bell made the show. Everybody else just contributed to it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like George Norrie though. I like his style. I like some of his little catchphrases and
He's
little
very
lines that
professional.
Yes.
But that was why I sort of didn't take to him as well, because he's too formula. He's too professional. After Art Bell, I mean, you know what I mean? Like Art Bell was not like this. Everything had to be done exactly in this way, and he had all this. I don't see George ever doing anything out of just on a whim.
Yeah, I guess I could say that. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like he's very structured.
Yes,
it's very, very professional, and that's fine. That's good. I'm not. You see, I'm not even just at that type of show. I was so used to hearing Art Bell all over the place that I felt like I lost it when he's gone. You know what I mean? And so it's not a put down. I mean, I was on the show once with them as well, George, and that. So it's sorry, George.
Boy, man, you got some chops. I'll tell you. You got around, man.
I am. That's what dancing. Working the pole. You get around.
Yeah, absolutely, literally.
Yeah. Well, I used to do. Yeah, I was doing all the paranormal shows back then too, right? Because I had a show that was just dealing with the people on TV with paranormal, so mediums and all the different shows that were out. So I had a paranormal show on radio, and so I got to interview all those, and that fit right in with Art Bell and George Norrie.
Sure.
Because they were really big on it. Both of them have been. So
when I first started this show, my intention was to do a very eclectic type of show where I would one day talk about politics, next day we'll talk about UFOs, and we'll talk about 0-point energy. We'll talk about, ghost hunting, and I did actually get some guests like that, and it was really a lot of fun. But I don't know, lately I've been throwing that line out, but I can't seem to get anybody.
Well, there was a time, like anything, where the paranormal and all that, the UFOs and all the all that sort of stuff, mystery in that sense, was really big, and that's why I was doing it too, right? But I think most of that's kind of gone, or it's changed now. I don't think like true crime's huge now. It's been huge for a while, but paranormal, I think, is kind of not. I think it's had its day. Not that it won't come back, but compared to what it was even 10 years ago, it's not much. So and all that stuff. I mean, it still goes on behind the scenes, but it's just not as mainstream, I think, as it was.
I've actually been invited to attend and speak at a CreepyCon in Arizona in October.
Is that a good thing? I mean, why
it might be.
That?
I've never done one of those, and so the plan is to actually do the show from CreepyCon.
Oh, but good. But have you Why did they pick you?
They were. I had them. I had the guy who's organizing it as a guest on my show once, and we just had a really great conversation, a lot of fun.
I thought maybe there was something that they said CreepyCon, and then they were putting you picture.
Well, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised. You know, I mean, I am kind of creepy in a lot of ways.
No, hardly, nothing even close. No.
Well, you mentioned true crime. So what originally pulled you into the world of true crime?
Okay, so with that, I'll tell you what was going on, because I was doing the show and we were doing it's about mystery. So it could be the mystery of JFK being assassinated. It could be the mystery of ghosts. It could be the mystery of anything. You know, like, is the world flat? Like, I mean, it's, yeah. You know, so so we sort of just had everybody and anything, and also mystery with murder, right? And that was part of it, and that was what they wanted to buy when I was selling, type thing, like this, the show casing in with me and all that. So I sort of got into it, and what I do, see, and I don't do true crime as 90% of people do. There are some really good writers that do. But what I do is, like when I was doing the Manson book, I put myself in 1965 to 1970, and I put myself in San Francisco, and then I create my own character as if I lived there. I'm a 20-year-old living in San Francisco. It's 1965. What kind of work do I do? What kind of pay would I get? How much could I afford? What kind of place would I live in? What is my day like when I get up in the morning? What do I have in my apartment? How do I live? What's going, and then what's going on around me, you know, in San Francisco? And then there was the race riots, and then there was the war in Vietnam. There was, you know, the Kennedys being shot. We had so many things going on in the 60s. The Black Panthers, Weathermen Underground. We had so many things, good and bad, that I kind of put together that story first. And then when I've got that setting, I bring in a crime, like, let's say, Charles Manson. So all of a sudden, how does he fit into that time? Why did he fit, and why did he do what he did, and how did he get away with it? You know what I'm saying? So then I start writing from that point of view. So it's not like, oh, Charles Manson was born here and he did this, and not, you know, and he killed these people and all that. It's more about how he lived and how people lived around him. And you see, because it's really important to understand, like Haight-Ashbury, right? And all the 14, 15-year-old kids heading there, trying to find peace and love, and doing the pot, and the LSD was legal, like all the drug culture and all that. People have to realize that setting, because I don't think he would have got away with anything in any other time, in any other place. It had to be there. And not that he planned it. It's just he happened to get out of jail, and that's where he ended up. So that's how I write the story. And that's been that way for all of the crime books. I kind of do that, even the cult books, because I think it's important, because if someone reads something now, let's say you're 20 years old today, you'd have no idea what was going on in the 60s. You know what I mean? You couldn't feel that whole lived experience without it. You have to have that setting. So and so anyway, so I'm really a history guy that had crime on the side. That's how it just sort of mixed. That's
I mean, that's a great way to put it too. I mean, well, you have to, I think if you're going to write true crime stories, you do have to be somewhat of a historian, because a lot of people like Charles Manson and other serial type killers. There's usually something in history precedent to that, right. And you know, so I think it's really, you have to know your history. You have to follow the trends. You have to understand the time in which those things were taking place. Yeah. And you know, from a historical perspective as well as a socio-political perspective, what was going on at the time that led to that allowed this type of thing to happen. Now, when you were getting into these really dark stories, did you get a lot of resistance from like your family, friends, and early on?
No. maybe I should say, yeah, they were terrible. They were really hard.
No, that's fine. That's good.
No, for some reason, I was able to get away with it, as in like, I could go and meet or call or even go into prison, and they almost always said yes. And I think that was maybe because I wasn't well known. Maybe I didn't have I couldn't say for sure, but I do know that I was able to interview a lot of people. And I still go to prison and I meet a person that's a killer, or I meet a person that's been put away. I exchanged letters with quite a few of them, and I don't know why they allow it. Well, I mean, I don't, because
yes, I know.
I mean, why did they choose to say, yeah, okay? I really don't know why. I wished I had it. Maybe it's just my personality, the way I look. I don't know what it is that they kind of go, okay.
Well, you kind of blend in. So.
Yeah, I guess.
It's the haircut.
Yes, the haircut. Yeah. I tie my hair back for radio interviews so that it doesn't get in the way.
There you go. That long, luxurious hair.
Yeah.
By the way, my dog is named after Charles Manson.
Charlie?
Yeah. His name is Charlie. He's named after two actually, Charles Manson and Chucky the doll.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Just like, that reminds me. I remember when I was, Burl Barer. He writes a lot of.
I've heard the name. I'm not familiar with the work, but I know the name.
He's written a lot of crime books too, true crime and stuff. It's funny because when I interviewed him for one book years ago too, right? Just when the ISIS thing started, and all that war and stuff. That's when I was interviewing him, and he had just got a dog and he named it ISIS. And then like 2 months later, all of a sudden all this stuff's happening. And anytime he has the TV on, they're talking about ISIS and the dog's running around looking. And I remember him saying that. He goes, I couldn't have made a worse choice. That's
great.
But, that's what that reminds me of. It's fun.
That's great. I got a funny dog story for you too. So I have two French bulldogs, Charlie and my girl Bean. And they are obsessed with television. So anytime the TV is on, they are watching TV. And every time they see another dog or a cat or any other animal on the screen, they charge the screen and they try to attack. Yeah. The funniest thing happened, and it's one of the rare occasions I did not have my phone sitting right next to me to record this. So I had Godzilla, the new one, the one that just came out. The 1.0, whatever it is. So I was watching that, and there's a scene in the movie where Godzilla is chasing this little boat, and all you see are the dorsal spines, and you see just the top of its head. So of course now my two see this, and they start growling. They start looking at the TV. They're about ready to go run until, and they started running, and until Godzilla stood up out of the water. And then the both of them hit the brakes, turned around, ran back, and sat underneath my legs.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's your turn. Yeah,
big tough dogs, aren't you?
Yeah, they're go back, let him deal with it.
Exactly. So yeah, the dogs are great. I love them.
Yeah,
but that's funny though. That running around for ISIS, that's great.
Yeah, no, I thought it was funny. Yeah,
dogs are great, man. Dogs are great. So while you're doing all this research for the books. Did you ever wonder or question whether, I guess, like living inside such dark subject matter was actually good for you? It's a healthy type of research to
late
do.
Now. I never thought about it, to be honest. I never thought about it. And the first time it ever affected me was when I did a recent crime that happened in a city near me. Mm-hmm. And the family had reached out and talked to me about it because they were interested in me writing a book, because the guy that murdered 5 members of their family, and he was up for parole, and they wanted to bring attention to the case and do all this stuff. So that was the only time it affected me in a bad way, because what happens is you start dealing with a lot of the family members and survivors. And it's really hard because you spend day after day for a year or 2 years and they all handle it differently. Some of them are crying as if it happened yesterday. Do you know what I mean? Even though it's 20 years ago, it's just like it's happening right now. They never change. They hold on to that time and they never move on. And that's disturbing. Then you've got the others that are looking for a way to kill them, and they just do anything if they could kill them, like they're real angry. But that's bad too, because you're going to think, you spent your last 20 years so wrapped up in this, and it's destroyed their life in a sense that, yeah, they move on and they work and have a place and a job and everything's fine, but it's not, because they're obsessed with it. It's 24/7 in their mind, and it doesn't go away. And so I found that really much harder on the soul than, let's say, when I do something that's 100 years old.
All right.
A case from 100 years ago. It's not as personal. So I'm not sure, again, like I said, and because I do write it from the historical point, I think that protects me from getting into a lot of the, let's say, the real hard stuff. Because even when I did Manson, I'm not writing about, the blood dripping off the wall and all these. I don't get into all that detail, because I think that there's writers that do that. They do it well, and that's what you get from them. For me, you're going to get more of the real, the story, just like what's going on in people's lives to make them act and react to different things, and what's the behaviors and stuff. I don't need to get into all that detail. You know what happens, but I don't need to detail it like that. So I think that's okay. I don't know. I haven't felt like killing anyone or anything. So
well, that's good.
That's
always a start.
Yeah. No, I feel like I have a fairly normal life. Well, whatever normal is.
Well, if anybody was privy to the conversation we had before the show, then they might question that too. But
well, of course, but that's no. But you know what? I don't think that like I do everything. I worked and lived and done everything like everyone else. I don't think it's changed me, and I get along, I think, quite well with people, and I do. It hasn't seemed to disrupt my behaviors. I don't think. I'll let you know, but there's nothing in my basement.
We'll be watching carefully.
Yeah, there's no bodies in the basement.
Not yet.
This week.
Right. There was a joke I told at my day job one time, and it got a lot of raised eyebrows along those lines. I said, one of the things I hate about cleaning out my freezer is that sometimes I don't remember who this person was.
That's perfect. You should have a bed and breakfast.
I should, right? Yeah. Well, so
you tell your customers that at the breakfast table.
Right.
You'll be popular, boy. Oh boy.
Yes.
No, I don't.
The sheriff's department would enjoy it.
Yeah, they'd be coming over for coffee, like Gacy, hanging out.
Exactly.
I don't know. I think to be honest, I don't think it's affected me. Or maybe it hasn't. I just don't know it.
Yeah. Was there a specific case or a moment where you realized that I want to spend my time doing this?
No, it happens, but quite often people are always, at this point in my life, I'm getting emails and messages, and then if you go to a book signing at a bookstore and stuff, you get people coming up and saying, "You should write about Bertha." I mean, I just love this, and you're like, Bertha? Oh yeah, she got murdered by her husband or something, right? Oh, when was that? And they tell you, well, 1925. Oh, okay. Like, are you a relative, or do you know what was Bertha's last name? Oh, I don't know that. I was like, well, what town was it in? And they tell you some small town that's somewhere in like Idaho, and you kind of go, okay, but you get a lot of people giving you stories, and they want you to write. And a lot of times I'll go home and I'll be working, and I'll just spend time going through, and if something strikes out at me, then the next step is to contact people that were around, if you can, if it's not too old. And if there are people alive and they're still interested and they do want something out, then I'll move forward. But I also look for some sort of weird angle because I'm really into history. So I like to have something that happened other than just murder. And you get that with, say, like the vampire killer that did kill 5 people in Canada. I know I'm laughing. No, and the reason I laugh is because
no, it's not funny, but just the idea of it, that somebody's going around like pretending to be a vampire killer and killing actual.
Yeah, well, it was kind of deep, and so to speak, and so, but you kind of look at this, and so the guy gets put away for life. Okay, whatever. And so I just thought, yeah, maybe. And then I start to find out that after he gets put away for life, this guy applies for an American Express card in prison for life, and he gets it, a credit card. Okay, so that's the first thing. I think, well, what's the big deal? Then you find out that because he was an artist and beforehand, like I guess he painted and did things, right? And because they were trying to improve, prison situations and make support their prisoners, or I don't know what reason. There's different reasons. So they started. He was a good prisoner, so they started taking him up to art museums on a day pass.
Okay.
Second time he was out, he needed to use the bathroom. He went, and the guards just let him go, and he never came back. And so, yeah, I know.
Could have told you that was going to happen.
Yeah, and so then he goes out and he's got the card on him, the American Express card, somewhere hidden. And I guess they didn't search him or whatever. So he goes and rents a hotel, and he starts living it up on this card. Buys all these new clothes, and he starts going to bars and going out with girls again and stuff. And I'm thinking, so that is what turned me on to that case. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that is kind of quirky. I would be curious about that myself. Yeah,
I like that.
That's
sort of
interesting.
thing. Or that Colonel Williams who used to fly the Queen around. Like, he was in charge of all transportation in Canada. He's the highest ranked military. And so, if you came in Canada and you were a dignitary or anybody of royalty and stuff, he was in charge of you the whole time you were there, your transportation and protection. Meanwhile, the guy was raping and killing girls and wearing their clothes and filming it at the same time. So, there's things like that kind of go.
That sounds like Wild Bill from Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, that's it. Well, this is even, and it's, so you kind of get into the story and you start thinking, wow, this is crazy. But there was a lot of elements to it that I liked about history, about things that you just think, no, and you don't. And so that's what really draws me to a case more so than the murder itself. Yeah.
So let me add, so after doing all this research for years, and on the number of books that you've done and the amount of research you've done, what do you think people, I guess, misunderstand about serial killers?
Well, I guess if I had to give a quick or a short answer in a way, I would say something like they have a concept, they have an idea of what a serial killer is and what he looks like, and who this person is, because they think that it's all Hannibal Lecter. You talk to someone, they think serial killers are super intelligent. They're usually decent, good looking. They're usually very, I don't know, they're above normal person in the way they behave. Like, they're very, they got charisma, they've got charm and all that stuff. They've got this whole list of stuff that they believe serial killers are. And I'll tell you, 90% of them aren't. And you go meet them, you go see them, you go write about them, you go do things like that. They look like any average Joe. They really do. There are some specifically that stick out, of course. But it's not, they think there's a whole mass of this Hannibal Lecters out there in their own way, you know what I mean? That they're above normal and they're just super smart and they go, oh, they're so clever and they're so, and that's one big thing. And the other thing is there's this real need to figure out why they're killing. There's this real need. And most of the television shows you see always aim it at the parents. The mother was a drunk, then the father beat him, or or abused him. Like there's always stuff like that, and so it's just too general, is what I mean.
Do you think that just people, because yeah, you're right. You watch these shows and these commentaries on it. It's always childhood trauma, it's abuse, it's their environment, or is, okay, fine, and maybe in some circumstances, but do you think that sometimes it's just that people are wired wrong?
I think it's always that they're wired wrong, and I say that because out of my own childhood, and having a mother who was really sick at a young age, then hospitalized. I only knew her from the hospital and then died. My father was a terrible drunk who used to be really mean. I think I had a worse childhood than most of the serial killers. And that's how I say, because why didn't I feel like going out and doing anything? I'm the guy that sees a spider and picks it up and puts it outside. I'm that kind of weird guy. I don't understand how that would be the reason. I think that might accentuate it. It might make it better or easier, because if I felt like killing, it would have been much easier. Like, when you look at Dahmer, at home, he started killing animals and stuff. Meanwhile, I'm rescuing animals. But I think that it might make your situation easier, but it doesn't create what you're doing. You know what I mean? It might add to it, but you do it for a different reason. And I don't know what that is. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I just play one. Yeah. Right. But no, I don't. But every time I see that, I think, well, it's ridiculous, because there's how many people in the States right now and Canada have been abused as a child that went on to live pretty good, normal lives. Worked,
good point,
wives, kids, never went out and killed, never hurt anybody. And I'd say it's the vast majority of them. So there's something else going on. There's something internal. There has to be a problem. And it's not it's not a good thing to have bad parents and bad childhood, but I don't think that makes you kill.
Well, perfect storm situation. Maybe there is something wrong in the mind, and those circumstances activate it.
Exactly.
It's
a combo deal. It's an extra.
Exactly right. Yeah, I think so too. I think it's definitely a combination thing.
Yeah.
Now, you don't only write true crime stuff. You also get into cults, and cults are very. I think the public. I think the public's more interested in cults and than they are serial killers at this point, because I've seen so much about cults. When it comes to cults, though, I mean, what is it about cults that attracts people to it so much?
I think in general, it's our loss. It's our feeling of inadequacy. It's our feeling of insecurity, which, we all have at some level. And I think that's what it is. And I think it's how we deal with it, and the support system we have around us. Unfortunately, there's always a break in kids. How, like, you think about when you were a child, right? And how you're treated at home and at school by teachers, let's say, and parents and adults. And now you're an adult. And if you went back to that situation, you almost fall back into that childhood again. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you have an adult or parent or somebody still alive now, or even a teacher or something, and you remember how you were back as a child, if you get around them again, or if you go back home again, as they say, you sort of become the kid again, even though you're an adult now. It's just something about placing. And I think that's sort of it. And when we feel that way as a kid, and then someone comes along and pays attention to us and shows us, let's say, the affection that we're looking for, or the support we're looking for, it's easier for us to start following that and thinking they're cool, they're good. Parents are old, they don't know. There's that divide. Right. And so, and that's happened a lot. And some people grow up that way. Some people are actually adults and still are very, very insecure, very scared. I think you can kind of tie in cult and religion as well, because many cults do tie in religion.
Yeah, very true.
And so what they do is they take the religion that they're tying into their cult, and they're trying to take away the fear from the person that they want. It's like they're telling you everything's going to be all right. That you got David Koresh, who's Jesus, Jesus' son. Like they always have some sort of.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that's the one that popped in my mind when we started this conversation on cults.
Yeah. And he's a perfect example, like when I was on Coast to Coast overnight, George Norrie, and I had written a book, my first cult book about that, and I spent time on Koresh, and what was I getting? I was getting phone calls like on when people call in, and they would say things like they were still followers. They said Koresh was the true God. He told them the truth about the Bible. Nobody else does. And they're waiting for him to come back. You know what I mean? Like they're still waiting. And that says it all, right? They tie in that infinite, like, you're not going to die. You're going to become one with me, because I'm, it's like you've met Jesus. You've met God in the flesh. So you're overwhelmed and you believe it and you love it and you feel like everything's going to be okay. That's all that fear that you have goes away, and that person takes it takes it away from you. Wow. So you become something very special to them. And Koresh did it quite well.
Do you think it's the leader, like take a David Koresh? Do you think that in his mind he understood that he was manipulating people and he was controlling them, or do you think that he actually believed his own rhetoric?
I think it's a combo deal. I think that they start out someone like him who believes in a lot of what he says, and at first he's not the relative. He's not like the God. He's preaching away. And then he becomes the leader, because there was a woman that ran it before him, and he becomes the leader. And then he starts buying into what the people he taught start telling him, like, because he starts having a flock, and they all start telling him how good he is and how he's just, they all praise him. And I think over a certain period of time, he starts to buy into this, that he must be there for a reason. He must be special. And I think that happens a lot with a lot of cult leaders. Even Manson did the same thing, and ended up being Jesus's son, and had all these ideas of what was going to happen with the race riot and all this stuff. He started believing it, but at first he didn't. At first he wasn't anything like that. It just sort of takes time. And I think if it happens for a period of 4 or 5 years, they start to buy into their own story, and it starts to kind of roll from there, because it gets out of control then.
Do you think social media today facilitates cult tactics?
Yeah, for sure.
Makes it
But
easier.
it's in a different way now. It used to be the old days where you would hear about someone and you'd go. So you'd have to go to Waco, to be a part of it. You couldn't just go join a group online and hang out, FaceTime David. Hey, it's different. And all the groups were that way. Now it's different. Now it's done online. And I think what happens now too is a lot of the groups still have their core, and they have people that come to join them and be part of them. But they also have a huge group online that are on social media that are part of them. And that's almost like a different type of person. Some of them they've never met, and yet they're willing to do anything for them.
Yeah.
And they believe they're the ultimate, the answer to everything. So that's kind of a really strange thing. So it's changing now. It's changing. But then you also, and what's real and what's not. There's so many groups out there now, right? Again, You know, you got everything from the Flat Earth Society to with 300,000 followers that would be hardcore. But those followers, how many of them would actually go to Oregon where the guy Sergeant lives, the leader, and live in a commune with them? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a different setting, but then they still follow him. It's not comparing him to a cult, but in a way it's sort of, you know what I mean? But it sort of is in a way. Even like, you know, I get in trouble for that, but even if you're like a, you know, super rock star or movie star and stuff, they've got these followers that will go to see them 500 times, you know, and they're really, and all that stuff. And I just think that in a way, that's sort of the same thing.
Yeah, true.
It is in a way. It's not, they're not giving up their lives, but they're definitely very influenced by someone like that, which is a whole lot. But I think that whole idol thing is all part of it. And the hardest thing is a lot of the idols or cult leaders are not really that appealing. So you kind of wonder why.
Yeah. True, very
right.
Yeah, well, you think because, you know, usually when people hear the word cult, right, they're picturing, you know, the robes, the compounds, and all that stuff. But in reality, though, manipulation really exists everywhere. It's in politics, it's media, it's in online communities, like we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Influencers, you know. Do you think that modern society is more psychologically vulnerable today?
Well, yeah, in a certain way, because they have to deal with a lot of things that they're not equipped to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
It's a slow learning curve, like the whole social media and the whole onslaught of everything came on so fast that I think a lot of them don't know how to deal with it. Right. That's why you can have someone coming on and saying, oh, whatever, you know, this happened. And people will believe it because they have no defense against that sort of thing. Because if before in the old days, if someone would have told them that in person live, they would believe it because they're talking to someone they know. Now they're dealing with a whole new aspect. And you don't know how much is, you know, when you say influencers and you say all of that stuff, it just, most of it is really bad. It's misinformation, and that's sort of, or disinformation, and that's sort of even the same thing that happens with cults. You know, there's a lot of not truth, but people believe it, and that, and then plus now look at society. You've got people that are in politics that will just say whatever they want to say, totally not true, not even close to being the truth, and y'all people go, yeah, that's it. That's true.
Yeah, nobody challenges it.
And so, yeah. And it's kind of like, wow, isn't that weird? You know? And so that's sort of the thing we're dealing with now. We're dealing with a lot of the population that can't handle all of this stuff that's around them. They don't, I mean that mentally, they don't know how to deal with a lot of the stuff, and they can't decipher between what's real and what's not. They can't work their way through it. And a lot of people don't have time. You know, it used to be you could turn on the old news and you get generally the news. Now
you don't.
Now it's all editorial. Everyone's just talking. Like, you know, there's no real news. Local news is your only news. If you turn on a local town or something, they talk about the rain and they talk about this bridge is being built and they talk about this, you know, that's kind of news, because they don't get too far out of that. But most of the other stuff is like, you know, this happened, and then they have 5 people there all talking about it for 20 minutes, you know, and it's just all editorial and talk. So
and it gets vicious too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course, because nowadays that seems to be the other side of social media is about having followers and clicks and being popular. And so you've got to say the right thing and look the right way. And so if that means, you know, so I'm going to say, oh, Joe Rooz, he's a Satanist cult leader. And, you know what I mean? You can say things about someone. Yeah. But that turns people on, you know. He's been caught with like 20 women and he has a brothel and all that. You can start saying things and people are looking for that. You
Yeah.
see, and it's more extreme now. That's the problem with the social media. It used to be, you'd pick up a magazine at the drugstore or something and you see about stuff. But now it's just everyone's watching everyone. The funny thing, I say Big Brother, 1984, but what he did wrong in 1984 was Big Brother is really everyone. Everyone's watching everyone. There's not like a single unit anymore. So everyone is Big Brother.
That's a great point.
In their own way.
That really is a great point.
And so how do you overcome that? Right. And the thing is, not only that, I will give it this way. You don't grow up and live and all that stuff expecting to be Big Brother. So, it's not like I'm blaming people because they've been thrown into this world, so to speak, and now they have to deal with it. And it's like, wow, I wasn't equipped for that. Yeah. Like nobody told me there'd be days like this, right? That idea. And that's fair enough,
What are some of the common traits that cult leaders tend to either share or cultivate?
Well, the hardest part with cults is they try to separate you from everyone else. So quite often they'll have a commune, or if not, they'll have a separate place to go, and everybody else is the enemy. And that's kind of the trait. Doesn't matter what it. So anybody that sort of has a point or has an ability to take apart your group is an enemy. So usually the cult leaders will work against that. So it could be media, depending on the year and time, could be social media, it could be politics now, it could be everything. And even and that behavior's gotten into everything. You look at all the politics in the States right now, it's very divided that way. It's this. So if you're not with me, everybody's an enemy, even if they're still American. And that's not really true, but so you got to demonize everyone else. So that's what they do. The biggest thing is to demonize everyone and then separate you from your family, your friends. And even like, Manson, where you get into a ranch, you get out of the city. And then even when you went to Barker Ranch, even further away isolation, so that you don't even have a chance to see a newspaper or start interacting with people in a city normally. You're just in amongst your own group. That's probably the strongest thing that they do to keep their people in line, and they have different aspects, but that's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm watching the clock here and we're running out of time. So I wanted to really get into one of your books though, specifically Pen and Blood, your poster behind you there.
Oh yeah.
So that particular book dives into direct communication with killers,
right?
And what made you decide to publish those exchanges?
Well, I think with some of them, because when I did a book about, let's say, who was it? The Grinder serial killer, and I had tons of letters and communications from him. And the book itself, there wasn't room to put all of that in there. You know what I mean? I couldn't focus on that. So there was a lot of left over. Then there was Ian Brady, who did the Moors murders in England. And he's passed now, but he was a very smart guy. And I thought it was really interesting. And then there was another one in Canada. There was different ones. And I just thought that they were never going to get out there for people to read, if that makes sense. A lot of these interviews and a lot of this communication and stuff. So I just wanted to put them all in a book, organize it, and publish it so people can actually see what goes on. If they can actually see a serial killer, listen to them, and see what they say, how they, and stuff like that. And I think it sort of goes along like with the Grinder serial killer. He's like a big kid. He's like a 16-year-old, maybe, all of his letters, his pictures he draws. He talks about he can't wait for the new Star Wars, or he can't wait for the new this or that. Like it was like communicating with a kid, and he was in his 40s, do you know?
Wow.
And so that, I think that was bizarre. And of course, I just go with it. And so that's just in there. I think with all of them, even the other boy, all of them in there that you read their stuff, you start to realize they're just kind of, I don't want to say normal people, but they're average people.
Mm-hmm.
They have the same, they like things and don't like. If you didn't know what they did, and you read this and you read a lot of this stuff, you would think they're just like everyone else, like
Right.
And so I think that was kind of the point of that book. Plus, like I said, I wanted to get those letters and all that stuff out there, because people that are interested in that, then they can read it. I think that was the point of that book.
Do you think that sometimes these killers are terrifying, specifically because they appear to be normal?
Yeah, and I think that that's the reality people should grab a hold of, is that a lot of serial killers are just average sort of people. They're average looking, they're average in skill, and they're not super smart intellectuals that that we think they are. They're just actually average Joes, but they have an issue that makes them kill, and sometimes it's more obvious than other. Like some killers are looking for a particular type of person to kill, an age, a sex, design. But there's so much more to it, and I think that's it. That you got to realize that it's not what you see on TV all the time. I think that's sort of it. I think a lot of the shows don't really emphasize that, and they don't really show a lot of the common killers, which is the majority of them. So
I think a lot of the shows are just, like we said earlier, clickbait.
Yeah,
they're just looking for the algorithm. They're looking for that boost.
They want you to keep watching.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, in talking with some of these people in Pen and Blood, in the conversations you've had with them, are you looking for any sign of truth, remorse, anything like that from them?
No. And maybe that's why I get away with it, because I don't look for that sort of thing. In fact, I go into it as if I'm just having a conversation with someone. I don't go in there and go, so why did you kill these people? Or why did you, or, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about them. What was it like? What's it like for your life? What was it like? And what are they like? Star Wars, Star Trek. Tell me about you. I want to hear about you. And maybe that's why it does. I can get away with it, because I don't try to get into the things that. And if they want to talk about it and they want to bring it up, that's fine. But I'm certainly not looking for them to apologize. I don't think that's any good anyway. To be honest, I mean, an apology does nothing. Right? I'm a hardcore death penalty person.
So am I. Yeah,
so
I understand that.
So I don't really, I think, okay, it's fair enough. We live in a country, they've decided that's not what we're going to do. Okay, do it. But I don't think they should be getting out on parole. Like, what? Why are you letting someone out that's killed 5 people?
Yeah.
If we know what they've done it. Fine. If we don't want to kill them, fine. But you put them away. Don't let them out. I don't want that person as my neighbor.
Yeah, I agree with you. Did any of them seem like they were genuinely self-aware?
Oh, maybe half. I think the most disturbing one was that one guy in Canada that did the Wells Gray murders. He killed the family of 6, the grandparents, the parents, and the 2 little girls, and he killed them so that he could get the 2 little girls and assault them. And the worst part was that when he starts talking about the assault, talking about the youngest one and going, because nobody knew how much time he had, and he was going, well, everybody assumed 2 weeks he had with the girls. And he said, no, because he said the youngest one, she didn't know how to do anything. I tried for almost 24 hours and she couldn't get it, so I just shot her in the effing head. And you're kind of like, okay,
Yeah, that's like a punch in the gut.
Yeah,
just
so
so
you're kind of
matter of
like,
fact, and just
and so what I do is I'll write that in the book. I know we're out of time, but I write that in the book, and I'll put it so people can see that's what he said, because he's up for parole, and then I can just sort of say, he said it to me, like, you ever go into a grocery store and it's really busy and you get your stuff and you get up to the lineup and there's only 2 people on cash. And there's like 500, and someone turns to you and you think they'd put more cashiers on, and he said it to me in the same way. Like, he thought I would turn around and go, yeah, you give her 24 hours. Geez, I wouldn't give her 12. Like, he wanted me to jump in and kind of rally for him.
And like an affirmation for what he did.
Yeah. And it was just that. So that's really bizarre. So that's what I do. I'll put that in the book so people can make a decision.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now, a couple minutes ago, we mentioned something about algorithms and and what like the media does with these types of stories. Do you think that there's a line between documenting evil and glamorizing it?
It's a personal thing, but probably. I think that most of the time when you get into a production company and when it's for money, it can appear to be glamorizing because they're looking for money. So your director is looking for entertainment, moving, and so they'll put in what they need to do that. I think the most disturbing thing is when they do it and they make up the story. I know that the Rodney Alcala, the dating game killer, when I wrote that, and they've made 3 or 4 movies, and one was just made a year ago on Netflix. And they even used my book and even Matt Murphy, who was the prosecutor. The worst part was when I watched the movie, nothing was real. The killer himself and who the story was about, who picked him on the dating game, those people were real. The rest of the story was made up. All the events they had in here never happened. A lot of the characters never existed. But they made all of these really exciting, gloomy, dark things in the story. It's a great crime fiction story based on a real person. I don't like that because that's glamorizing. That's glamorizing, and you're doing it for the money. That's simple as that. And the worst part about that is, you say based on a true story, someone watches it so they think that happened. And that's disturbing. So yeah, there is some that take advantage of it, and it's too bad, but that's kind of our free society, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I do.
I mean, look at all the podcasts too out there. The Joe Rooz show. No, look at all the podcasts out there that relive crimes. They just, they go online and they learn about a crime, and then they do a show, and they do a series of 12, 14, no bad email. Send them to Joe, hate mail, because I don't, and I mean, it's fair enough.
We'll
people
add it to the pile.
Yeah, but that's just like, that's glamorizing. You're not doing anything from that. I don't quite get that, but it is part of things. So,
and the true crime podcasts are huge. I mean, they're some of the most consumed content in podcasting.
I don't get it. I get it, but I don't. Thing is, I'd rather read the book or listen to the book, because you'll get a lot more information and a lot more. It's all factual, rather than someone, because how much time you got to plan for a show and how much time to get the information. So if you're doing a show every week and you've just got a week to get together everything you need to do about a crime that happened, that's not a lot of time. So you're gonna scratch the surface. You're gonna get a lot of stuff where you can, and that's fair enough. It's as good as a lot of the shows on TV that do it, but I don't know. I've never been interested in that too much myself. I just sort of don't really.
Why do you think people are so interested in serial killers?
Because there's an answer. And I mean, in a way of, there's a beginning, middle, and end. You watch these shows, you see these serial killers, and it's okay because they're gone, they're away, they're done. And there's this thing of wanting to, like, we have a natural fight or flight, right?
Yes.
That protection thing that goes on. And I think what happens is it allows you to understand the case better. It allows you to understand how to behave around people that you think might be bad, and it gives us an awareness to it. So there's that. And at the same time, it gives you an answer. You don't have to worry about the ending. The ending is already there for the most part. Like some of the missing person ones, that's different. But the true crime themselves, yeah, it gives us it's cozy, beginning, middle, and end. We don't have to, it's not like a scary horror and you don't know what's going to go on, or a story that doesn't end, you know. And I think that's it more than anything. Yeah.
That's a great answer. I like that. That's really good. Well rehearsed.
Here, let me write that down.
So, in wrapping up here, after all the killers, the cults, the investigations, the darkness, the human psyche that you've been delving into all these years, what still genuinely scares you?
That I lost all my hair.
Nah.
No, actually, you know, I generally scares me. It's actually nothing to do with the true crime. It scares me more about how people behave, not just true crime people, but just people. I just I try to be such a positive person because maybe I've lived a long time, and it's really sort of upsetting or scarier to see how people treat each other right now in the country for reasons that are usually made up or exaggerated, you know, and you don't deserve that way. And I'm really not happy with that. And I'm unhappy with people really hating everything and hating life and hating this and hating it. And it's like, no, stop. You got to turn it around and look at what you like and build off of that. This is really good in our life. We have so much good in this country, in the US right now, right?
I agree.
So much good. And there's so many good people, but we're not paying attention to that. We're paying attention to a lot of stuff that makes us think everyone's evil and they're all bad and we're all doing terrible things. And it's like, no, stop it. There are always bad things that go on and always bad people and things that happen that we don't want to happen. But we got to turn that around and start focusing on the good, because I'm more worried about the kids. I'm more worried about how they see it as a kid and how that will affect them as they grow up, more than that, you know. So that's probably the most disturbing and scariest thing to me, because you see some really awful things out there. It's so bad you don't want to watch the news.
Yeah.
You don't want to watch.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't want to watch people just swear at each other and call each other names. And everybody's a child molester and a killer.
Yeah.
It seems like the true crime area is more organized.
It might be.
You know what you're getting. You know.
Yeah. But you're right. You're absolutely right. So when people finish one of your books, what do you want them walking away with?
Oh, I don't know. I think to really appreciate the history more than anything. That might be a weird answer, but I think to really
makes sense.
No, because you really have to feel. We have to understand what our parents and foreparents, grandparents, and all that went through, the life they had to give us what we have. And also, so it's so important to me, the setting. That's why I do that, because you really get a sense of the history and how people lived. And that's when you start to understand why things happen better and why they happen and how people acted and reacted. Just as I'm sure someone will write in 30 years about this time today, and we'll put in a whole lot of things about the setting and what we're living in today to maybe help them understand what we go through, you know. And I think that's my main goal when I write almost any book. I don't really want to blame people. I don't want to be, you know, derogatory. I don't want to be mean even to the killer. I don't want to do there's no judgment or narration against things like that.
Yeah. It's
more about, this is what happened. This is the setting. This is how it works. This is what goes on. It's just that. And no judgment. No, oh, this person's or this, just, this is what's going on. This is what it is. And then, you know, because that's how we really learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot more about how my parents probably had to live and be who they were. Because a lot of times people are bad. Let's say, like I mentioned my dad before, a lot of times because they didn't ask to be that. They didn't choose to be that. It just happened. They had their life. And I think that's probably why I'm into history, because you wanted to find out, well, why would someone want to do this?
Yeah.
And you start to feel and understand it better. So
I agree.
hopefully just they understand more about us people.
I agree. That's great.
Yeah.
So, Alan,
Yeah.
who's someone that you respect right now, and what are they doing that inspires you?
Oh, you.
Oh, thank you.
I know, yeah, you in a
appreciate
way, because you're out there working and you're out talking to people and you're trying to get things. You seem like a nice guy and you seem like you care, and so this really is the good thing, and that's sort of what we need more of. So that anybody doing that sort of thing, not just on air or on YouTube or any of that stuff or podcast, but just anybody out there doing something positive or trying to make things better, looking in the right direction, I think, right now. And there's so many that aren't. So anybody that inspires me, and it could be a person down the road that I see just helping someone or doing something nice. It sounds corny. It sounds so corny, especially after living 60 some years. I just think it sounds silly, because you shouldn't have to talk about or emphasize that. But the truth is, those little things makes all the difference in the world. And I start to, things like that inspire me to keep going, because there's times when you don't feel like it, you feel, and you see that and you realize, no, there's that ultimate goodness, and that's what we got to hold on to. So I'm big into promoting that more than anything else in the world. I can't think of anybody that I would say in person as a name, because I see more regular people out in the street these days being nice and doing good things than I do on TV.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Right? I mean, and it's terrible that the people we vote in are so rude and so bad. And that's just across the board. It's just depressing. So I just want to see more uplifting, more support for each other in our differences and in our weaknesses, just to be more supportive in that. So I sound like a preacher or something here, but
well, you're doing good. That's great.
well, there you go. I know. Join my commune now. It's
okay.
55 and
and for a lifetime membership, it's
lifetime membership. Of course, there's little fees. You have to buy a book every year. No,
yeah, there you go.
No.
All right, Alan R. Warren, thank you so much, my friend. This was fantastic. Really, a incredibly thoughtful conversation, and I really appreciated it very much. And hopefully, we'll get a chance to do the Bourbon Brothers, and you come on back, and we'll do something for that for sure.
Isn't that coming up next? Isn't it? It's Saturday. I'm ready.
I think that's going to be after we finish all the post show stuff. We'll probably partake of a small sip or two, maybe. We'll see.
Anytime. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I really, do you want to hang out backstage really quick, and I'll wrap this thing up, and I'll close it out with you? Okay, great.
Got it. Yeah.
All right. Folks, Alan R. Warren. Make sure you check out his books. 40 of them to choose from. There's plenty out there, so please make sure you do that. All right, Alan, I'll catch you backstage.
Okay.
All right, folks. So just final thoughts here. One of the things that stands out after a conversation like this is just how complicated human beings really are. People want simple answers. Good guys, bad guys, easy explanations. But the deeper that you look into violence, manipulation, cult behavior, criminal psychology, the more uncomfortable reality really becomes. Because evil rarely walks into the room wearing a sign around its neck. And I think we talked about that very specifically tonight. Sometimes evil's charismatic. Sometimes it's intelligent, persuasive. Sometimes it's hidden behind institutions, movements, or personalities that people desperately want to believe in. And maybe that's part of the reason why true crime fascinates people so much. not because people want to necessarily celebrate evil, but because they're trying to understand how human beings become capable of it in the first place. Conversations like tonight's really matter because they force us to think critically, not just about criminals, but about manipulation, about media, power, fear, and human nature itself. And you know something, today, that kind of awareness matters more than ever. So, folks, just want to give our shout-outs to and our thanks to our guest tonight, Alan R. Warren. Really appreciate him being with us tonight. Executive producers, Wayne Rankin, Rosanna Rankin, Carolina Jimenez, Marissa Lee, and, of course, the inestimable Anonymous Angela. Really do appreciate all the effort and support we get from our producing team. They're fantastic. And these folks donate their time, their talent, and their treasure. So, and you can find out more about how you can do that as well by heading over to our website, joerooz.com/support. That's joerooz.com/support. When you get over there, take a look at all the different ways that you could help support the show. Again, the 3 T's, value for value. If you're getting anything from the content that we're putting out, anything of value, we're only asking you to return that value to us in the form of a donation. And these folks donate their time, their talent, and their treasure. And you can do that too. joerooz.com/support to find out all the different ways you can help support the show, from one-time donation to recurring donations to signing up as part of our producing team. Plenty of ways to do it, and we'd appreciate that as long as you have the means and are able and willing to do it. So thank you so much for it. We really do appreciate it. All right, folks, I think that should be all I've got for you for tonight. I want to say thank you again to our guest, Alan R. Warren. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a great conversation. All right, that's about all I got for you. So, folks, as we head out, keep a steady stride. Good night and goodbye.